Hey everybody, good evening or good afternoon, late afternoon I should say. It's about 4:36. And as you can see on top of the title, I'm going to talk a little bit about WWE and TNA news. So, let's start on the forefront, if you will, WWE. Now I just watched Jeff Meacham's Talk Wrestling edition, his May 9th edition of Talk Wrestling, Jeff Meacham of No DQ, who does a very good show, and please give him 2,000 subscribers. He's a very good person. He's very, very good host, very knowledgeable about wrestling, so give him his 2,000 subscribers, please. Now, he answered some questions from some fans about The Rock, The Undertaker, and Michelle. Alright. One fan said that the WWE basically was kissing Rock's ass last week to the point that this fan wanted to puke. And that because of this, they noticed that the ratings dropped. Now Jeff Meacham did agree that they did kiss his ass. And I agree too, they did kiss Rock's ass. But you gotta look at it in a way. You gotta look at it this way. Rock came back because he wanted to, right? That's what everybody believes. Rock came back because he was asked to and because he wanted to. That's what everybody believes. But we all know, like I mentioned about the whole thing of Randy Orton and Christian and all that, Rock is a businessman. And so is Vince McMahon. And Vince McMahon, despite how you feel about this guy, is very smart. And he realizes that if he wants to keep his main event for WrestleMania next year alive and well, if he wants to keep Cena vs. The Rock alive and well, whether it's for the WWE Championship or not, then he's going to have to do whatever it takes to make The Rock happy. Even if that means dedicating a whole 2-hour show to him. Even if that means putting his final birthday celebration part or segment at the end in the main event slot. Okay? You have to realize, folks, that again, Vince McMahon is a smart man, and he realized, and he knows he wants to keep that main event alive and going. He's got to make Rock happy. Now, that is why things went the way they did on Raw, whether we like it or not. Okay? We may not agree with it, but again, if you look at it from Vince McMahon's eyes, from his point of view, it's smart business to keep one of the one half of your main event happy, especially knowing that he doesn't show up that much because of his movie commitments and the fact that he's more focused on making movies and being in Hollywood than he is competing in the ring. Now, other WWE news that they talked about was The Undertaker. Now, Undertaker, of course, last time we saw him, he was being carted out on a stretcher, on a mobile stretcher, out of the Georgia Dome after his tremendous classic match with Triple H. Now, we don't know when The Undertaker is going to come back. It could be a few months from now, it could be a year from now, we don't know. But here's the thing. I recently read on NoDQ.com that The Undertaker could be sort of retired by now. If he doesn't come back, Jeff Meacham said it himself, it's no big loss. But the thing is, he's at a point right now to where he could retire and we wouldn't know it. So, even if The Undertaker is sort of in a almost permanent retirement, it doesn't mean he's not. Because we haven't gotten any official word yet. You see, everybody is speculating and talking about the fact that The Undertaker is going to retire, but what the WWE is going to want to do is, even if he's out for the rest of the year, they're going to want Undertaker to compete at WrestleMania one more time so that he can retire on top as the only undefeated wrestler in WrestleMania history at 20-0. That's what they're hoping for. But let's take a look at this. 20-0 does sound more attractive than 19-0. So maybe they'll give Undertaker time to really heal up and everything, because let's face it, folks, if he was to come back and do the schedule some of these guys do now, most of these superstars and divas do now, he wouldn't make it. He would not make it. His body's basically falling apart, folks. That's why they allow him to have as much time as he gets. So hopefully, if he does have one match or two this year before 2011's out, maybe it'll only be at the big pay-per-views like SummerSlam and Survivor Series, but I seriously doubt it. Well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But right now, WWE is doing the smart thing and letting him heal up. That's what they're doing. So, is he sort of retired? Yeah, he's basically this close. Let me give you a visual aid. Let me give you a visual aid, folks. Okay? Let me give you a visual aid. Alright? This DVD represents when he first started. This whole thing being open like this represents his career when he started. Now, he's at the verge to where the DVD or the door is this closed. You see that little inch right there, that little crack, if you will? That little crack, folks, right there? That sort of represents what's left in The Undertaker. Because once that crack shuts, it's done. Basically, folks, that's what's going on. That little crack I showed you is what's left of The Undertaker career rise. That's how many matches he probably has left in him. That little crack worth. So, and once those last matches or that last match is done, just like I showed you, that door, it's going to shut. And his career is going to be over. Now, as far as Michelle McCool goes, which they also talked about, Michelle, well, Jeff Meacham said that her retiring is the fact that she wants to be a mom. Well, of course, I do agree. A woman, anytime in her life, whether they're my age, younger, a little older, and they haven't had kids, there will come a time in their life, a phase in their life, to where they're going to want to have kids before they reach a certain age. They're going to want it. There's no doubt about it. They're going to want kids before they reach a certain age. And that's part of Michelle's indication right there. But it's not just because she wants to have kids, folks. It's the fact that Michelle is on the verge of being really hurt and everything. She's basically burnt out as well. Michelle wants to have kids. Yes, she wants to be a mom. She wants to have a family. But she's also on the verge of... Basically, she's just burnt out and she's injured. She's got injuries she's got to heal from. Just like The Undertaker. Yeah, her injuries aren't as bad as Taker's, but the thing is, right now she's smart enough to realize, look, I've done everything I've dreamed of doing. I've become the first woman to win both the Women's and Divas Championships. I think it's time for me to, ride off into the sunset. And that's what she's done. She's rode off into the sunset so that she could basically heal up from her injuries and live her life as a stay-at-home mom, maybe. Who knows? But here's the thing. You can never say never in this business. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of rumors starting up already that people are going to say, oh, well, Michelle's probably going to get approached by TNA to go there. No. See, Undertaker's been loyal to WWE for over 20 years. Over 20 years. Okay? Michelle's loyal to WWE because of that. So if Michelle does make a return, which we can never tell, it'll be with WWE. Now, one other piece of WWE item. Apparently, there are some divas that are not happy with how stiff Kama's working. They don't like the fact that she's working stiff. She doesn't like the fact that she's plowing through them. I mean, we saw what she did to Michelle at Extreme Rules. We saw what she did to Maurice. And reportedly, she injured Alicia on SmackDown. Well, according to some people on various websites and video shows and all that, these divas that are causing this backstage ruckus and putting heat on her, putting heat on Kama for what she's done, these divas are the divas that are basically eye candy, folks. I mean, we're talking about divas like the Bellas, like Maurice, like Alicia, maybe even Eve. Maybe even Eve. We're not sure. But I can tell you the ones that are not complaining. And that are the actual women wrestlers, Beth, Natalia, Gail, Melina, and, you know, Beth, Natalia, Gail, Melina, even Kelly, I'm pretty sure of it, and Layla, I should say, are probably not the ones complaining. Because they realize how stiff things get. So folks, I don't think this whole backstage heat deal on Kama is going to last long. I think what these women that are complaining about her are going to have to do is just wake up and realize that they are going to continue to compete. What they need to do is get in more better shape and get worker and stiffer and make sure the trainings are more stiffer and harder than they usually have. That's the way I look at it. It's like the old saying, you can't take the heat, get out of the fire, get out of the kitchen. And that's what these women need to do. They need to get into that fire, into that kitchen, and they need to start taking that heat instead of trying to put it on somebody else. Now, let me check my time. Okay, now let's talk a little bit of TNA news for a little bit. Just a little TNA news. As you probably have all heard by now I should say, Mick Foley makes his return this Thursday. China makes her return to wrestling this Thursday, and the Wildcat Chris Harris makes his long-awaited return to TNA. Here's the situation about all this. Mick Foley is making his return as the person behind the network. You know, the one that's been keeping Immortal, mostly Hogan and Bischoff and Flair in line. Second of all, China is being brought in. China is back on national U.S. wrestling soil, if you will, for the first time in a decade almost. And the reason is, she's been called in to replace the original mistress of Kurt Angle's, and that is Isis. Isis, many feel, is not totally ready to compete in the ring with the women of TNA, and that she could really hurt Karen Angle, so China has been brought in to take her place. And the Wildcat Chris Harris has made his return, as he will be the partner of Matt Hardy at Sacrifice when they face Beer Money for the tag titles. And there's also word going around that the reason this is happening is, the reason he has returned is that TNA is planning in the near future to reunite America's Most Wanted and thus finally give Robert Roode what many fans feel he's been needing, because if you've been noticing, he's also been getting a lot of mic time. Finally give Robert Roode what they feel he deserves, and that is a run as a singles competitor. And also news coming around is the fact that someone obviously has done some miscommunication, because on one side we got two people saying that it's Impact now, not TNA, as of this Thursday coming up. And on the other side we have someone saying it's only Impact that's been changed to Impact Wrestling, and that it's still TNA. So that's the only news coming out of TNA so far. Comment down below. Tell me if you agree with what I've talked about here or not. And I will talk to you later.